And the stock market rebounding a bit after a tumultuous day yesterday, now surging on hopes of reaching deals on tariffs. In Asia overnight, stocks also bounced back following days of heavy selling. Meanwhile, President Trump spoke with Japan's prime minister yesterday. Tokyo is sending a team to the U.S. for negotiations on trade. And joining us now is Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council. You are the man of the hour, so we are going to try to get through as much as we can.
Okay.
I also understand from the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, that the president had a call with South Korea today. She described it as a good call. Was it also the beginnings of a negotiation?
I think that right now we're managing a massive number of requests for negotiations. It's actually logistically quite challenging just to go through them. It's something that I've been spending a lot of the time this morning doing, because at NSC and NEC, what we have to do is prioritize the meetings for the president, and there are so many to go through that, we're actually getting ready to present a plan for him on, who and when. But yeah, he obviously prioritizes two of our closest allies and trading partners, Japan and Korea, and the word out of those conversations was really positive, and positive really for American workers, American farmers. There are a heck of a lot of concessions on the table. In the end, the president, of course, is going to be the one who decides whether the deal is good enough to change his mind about the tariffs.
In the end, will you advise him, or will he make a decision to separate the issue of trade barriers and trade deficits? Because some countries, they're never going to be able to buy as much from us as we do from them.
I think in the end, he said in the speech that he wants fair and reciprocal trade that treats American workers fairly, and that's in the end what I'm sure he's going to be weighing heavily when he decides on whether to accept the deal or not. But in the end, the president wrote the book, The Art of the Deal, and it's a great book. I really enjoyed the book, and it shows how to get great deals, and that's what he's doing right now for the American people.
But to be clear, on trade deficits versus trade barriers, where do you come down?
Well, there are some countries that we have trade surplus with now because they don't buy much of our stuff, but we have raw materials we need from them and so on. So I think in the end, the point is for the big trading partners that have been giving us massive trade deficits for years, even decades, because of their unfair trade policies, that's what we're focused like a laser beam on.
All right. So I guess more to come on that because it's not exactly clear. Wall Street does affect at some point Main Street. And this from Bloomberg today, that there are an historic high number of people who are cashing in their 401ks right now. And that means that also comes with a penalty. Empower sees hardship withdrawals running 15% to 20% above the historic norm. So that's not good timing for them in the last few days anyway. Does that give you concern about the bigger picture of an economic slowdown when what we need is economic growth?
Well, first of all, I'd have to look at the base of those numbers, because a 15 or 20% increase off of a really low number would be less concerning. The fact is that markets move up, markets move down, and one of the things that we've seen historically in terms of behavioral economics is that people tend to get anxious when there's a downturn and then sell and then miss when it comes back up. And because of that, the people who try to time the stock market tend to accrue far less wealth than the people who just put their money in and hold it.
Right.
And I'm a buy and hold person. The stuff I've been buying for my whole life, I've been holding for my whole life, and I think that's the best strategy for investors.
I hear you on that, and unfortunately I'm in a similar position, but a lot of people aren't. Let me ask you this. Are you counting on the Fed to lower interest rates in order to get to your numbers to pencil out for economic growth?
The Fed, we respect the independence of the Fed. The Fed will decide what it wants to do on interest rates. I'm sorry, Dana, I don't comment on the Fed's interest rate policy.
I respect not commenting on the Fed. I used to have to do that dance myself. My last question for you is this.
I wasn't dancing.
The president spoke to Japan yesterday, spoke to South Korea today. That sounds like it was positive, the market reacting that way. But China is the big monster in the room. And do you expect either a call there, or do you think China will go forward today and add more to its tariff policy against the United States?
The instructions from the president for all of us have been very clear that we're to prioritize our allies and our trading partners right now as we move forward with the trade deals. And so the president will decide when and if to talk with China, but right now we've received the instruction to prioritize our allies and our trading partners like Japan and Korea and others.
And so that nobody thinks that the police are coming to get you. You told me that you believe that some of those sirens are because Bibi Netanyahu will be leaving soon, and that would be his motorcade. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're very busy.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.